A.W.O.L is a free, single-player tactical shooter made on the Build engine. Yeah, I didn't ever expect to say those words. Hey, Jarek here, and I've been watching A.W.O.L for a while now. And by watching, I mean I had it wishlisted on Steam and had no idea it was coming out, then it suddenly launched for free, which I didn't know would happen. Now, boomer shooters are really fun, don't get me wrong, but they're not the main style of shooter that I really enjoy. That would be early 2000s style shooters, say Half-Life and stuff like that. Well, this game isn't that, but it's something else I also really enjoy. Tactical shooters. These are sort of my 1A, 1B style of shooter. You have Half-Life and then stuff like, say, Rainbow Six Vegas. Now, tactical shooters in their own right have split off into so many different kinds of shooters. You have true milsim games like Arma, down to pseudo-tactical games that are more arcadey like, say, Call of Duty. But in between those, right in the middle of those two styles is what I really enjoy. That's why I said Rainbow Six Vegas. Games that are very clearly not really arcade shooters, but aren't milsim either. Insurgency is another game to throw right in the middle. I really enjoy these shooters. The gunplay generally feels loud and punchy. You generally get punished hard if you do something wrong and die immediately. But at the same time, the same thing happens to enemies near you. It's just a very specific brand of first-person shooter that you don't see too often. At least as far as single player is concerned. There's so many of these when it comes to multiplayer, but single player just gets neglected. But hey, here we go. Here's one of those in the Build engine, which again, that's just so weird. Now, immediately I have to say I can't really criticize this game too much. It is free after all. And for what it is, it's okay. It definitely leans a little more arcade than tactical, but it doesn't go full Call of Duty. Story-wise, it kind of does though. This story is just so bland. Your character is trying to find your previous commander who has gone AWOL. When you do find him, he is dead, but he died trying to figure something out, something very important. That something very important are some major plans by terrorists to attack America. I just saved you watching all of those cutscenes. That's the whole story. Yeah, you've seen this before. I swear it is impossible for a tactical shooter to make an engaging story that isn't the same thing rehashed 20 million times over again. But whatever, the story at least works and ferries you to the next level. The main problem is the way it's presented. It's presented you through these very boring exposition dumps, and boy, that's all these are. There's no voice acting in here, the text scrolls way too fast so you can't even read it. I'm not even a slow reader, I just didn't speed this up. This is just how fast the text goes. It doesn't help that every explanation lasts way longer than it needs to. They could have said a few words and explained what needs to happen in the next level. And this is a problem that continues into the gameplay. There were many times where these big talking heads would pop up as I'm shooting dudes. I'm not reading that. Get it out of the way. I'm trying to play the game. I'm just gonna keep on shooting the enemies and not read the text. I don't care. I actually want the text to go away. Okay, so I've established the story is not why you're playing the game. How about the graphics? Well, obviously they look retro. This was made on the Build engine. This is the same engine that Duke Nukem and Blood came from. With that said, for a Build engine game, this actually looks fantastic. There's a lot of attention to detail in the environments, and more importantly, there's a lot of attention to detail in these reloads. For sprite-based reloads, they're animated particularly well. And some of these environments are huge. One of the levels is supposed to be downtown Dubai, and it's just massive. The only thing I will say is I do wish there was a little more interactivity in these worlds. That's what the Build engine is kind of known for, but I can't complain too much. As for the PC release, I didn't have a single crash. I could change the settings I wanted, including an FOV slider, and the game mostly ran fine. The only time it stuttered was in that massive map, and even then it was occasionally, not the whole time. The music in this game is overall pretty good, however it is just a quick loop, and on some levels that can get rather annoying. The most perplexing one is the jungle level. I thought the game would end there. I'm gonna turn off this music, it's driving me insane. Sweet silence, holy shit. Okay, How is that not an improvement? You get jungle noises and the rain coming down, it becomes a lot more immersive. To the point of where I think the music playing after the cutscene is just a bug, or at least I have to assume it is. If it isn't, I don't know why they would have the music playing at all. It's much better without it. I don't know if I share that opinion on the other levels, but for the jungle level, it's definitely better without music. So how about the gameplay? Well, it's fine. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just okay. I have a lot of good and bad I can say about it, and I guess we'll start with what is arguably the most important thing with a tactical shooter: the guns. Thankfully, these guns sound loud and feel punchy. Headshots are very damaging. Their whole head just pops blood everywhere. Some maps you can really shoot up the environment, and all of this is very satisfying. The only downside I can say is that you're really limited when it comes to the weapons. You have a starting knife that you'll never use. You have a starting pistol that you'll also never use. This M9 is really bad. This game is a mechanic where the longer you aim down sights, the more accurate you will be. If you're moving, it makes it less accurate. All of this is exaggerated with the M9 and makes it not really worth using, especially since this game organizes its weapons through different slots. Your first slot is your melee weapon, your second slot is something that will use a pistol caliber, so you're gonna dump your M9 and pick up an MP5 and never think about the M9 ever again. And your last two are for assault rifles, shotguns, RPGs, stuff like that. But I mentioned the MP5, so there it is. An MP5. I mean, don't have much more to say, it's okay. And again, the reload animation is fine, it does what it's supposed to. The two assault rifles you get are the bog standard you could have ever expected. You get an M4 and an AK-47, which is really disappointing because in third person, all of your characters are carrying Tavors, but you never get one in game. Anyway, the M4 is more accurate, has a faster rate of fire, and has less recoil. Overall, it's the better weapon. The AK is still fun, don't get me wrong, but considering one headshot kills almost anything, and both of these weapons do a pretty good amount of damage, you might as well just stick to the M4. You get an RPG with a lot more ammo than I ever expected. You could pretty much just use this thing for entire levels if you wanted to. And oh boy, the jibs with this RPG are just fun. And last but certainly not least is the SPAS 12. And yes, the SPAS 12 is pump action in this game. Every time I show a game with a pump action SPAS 12, I get a million gun experts in the comments saying, but actually it could be semi-automatic. Yes, but it can also be pump action, so who cares? Sorry, gun nerds can just be really annoying in comments. Like for example, in my Iron Sight video, I said this: all of these weapons have very smooth reloading animations. Nothing here pulls me out of the moment. These guns are realistic to their real-life counterparts. From what I've seen, there's nothing jarringly off about these animations. Yeah, they're probably not up to par with 2022 technology, but they definitely look smooth. I got so many comments saying, yeah, you said that right as there is a P90 AR-15. What is this nonsense, not knowing that that is a real thing that exists? Anyway, rant over. Let's talk about the SPAS 12. It's fun. This thing is as devastating as you would expect from a shotgun in a tactical shooter. It has way more range than most other shotguns in most other games, and one shot to the head is way more than enough to take out an enemy. If you have the ammo, this is the gun you will be using for most of the game. Then of course you have your grenades, which also will jib enemies, and that is also very satisfying. And you have throwing knives, which I never really use because they're not really useful. In fact, I probably don't even have footage of them, so don't worry about that. But yeah, that's it. That's literally your entire roster. 7 weapons if you include the knife, 6 if you don't, and the pistol isn't even really useful, so you're going to be using the same 5 weapons the whole game. While these are pretty fun to use at first, the lack of introducing new weapons ends up making the game kind of feel a bit repetitive rather fast. As for your enemies, they are basically your standard military style enemies. The only real difference between them is that some of them have more armor. The good news is that it's very easy to pick out the style of enemies between each other. You will never get into a situation where you turn the corner and you're shocked that one of them needed to be shot a few more times. These enemies also can do a lot of damage to you rather quickly. So to compensate for that, you can carry 3 bandages at a time. This doesn't work like the original Fear where you can just mash the medkit button and not worry about your health. You will have to actually take the time to bandage. It doesn't take too long, but you can't keep fighting while that is happening. There is one enemy type I take issue with, however. These obnoxious flying drones. They move incredibly quickly, so tracking them is near impossible, and then they will eventually just sit there and shoot at you. Problem is, you can't look directly upward above you. Where do the drones like to stop and shoot at you from? directly above you, so you literally cannot shoot them. They don't do a ton of damage, they're not really that much of an issue, they're just really annoying. All the others I don't have a problem with though. So yeah, this game is trying to be a little more tactical, but it is still a little arcadey. It's definitely more slow paced than say Call of Duty, however. And honestly, I'm totally okay with that. That's the style of game that I really enjoy. Except for there's one really big issue with the enemies. The AI is really dumb. These enemies have a hard time even just getting through doorways. They also won't shoot at you if you're a certain distance away, so you can just kind of plink at them at range and not worry about it. This is by far the biggest complaint I have about this game. This AI is really bad. To make things worse, you have a squad, and their AI is even worse. So speaking of the AI not being very good, alright, cool. Cool, I guess. Didn't need that friendly AI. Now you can command your squad, but your options there are also limited. You can tell them to follow you, you can tell them to be stealthy, which means just don't shoot at the enemies, or you can tell them to be aggressive, which just means shoot at the enemies. That's it, that's the only option you have. And their pathfinding is horrible. They will try to walk through any wall between you and them. They also have massive problems with any kind of verticality. Thankfully, your teammates will teleport back to you if they get stuck somewhere, or decide to jump off a cliff like an idiot. Or is that a good thing? Because truthfully, you never need your squad. In fact, I wish there was an option to remove them. The game is more fun when they're not around. Now, I know this is based on the build engine, and you kind of have to temper your expectations when it comes to AI on such a primitive engine. With that said, when you're making a tactical shooter, this really harms the game. AI is something you have to super hone in when it comes to a tactical shooter, and the AI in this game is particularly bad. But okay, let's move on to the map design. And for the most part, it's a fairly linear game, but it does allow you to branch off and give you a little bit more freedom than your typical Call of Duty game. For example, this level in the jungle will allow you to go in different directions and throughout entire buildings. This was a linear level, but it did not feel linear. Some other levels are a more straightforward linear level, and that's what you should be expecting from this game, with the exception of one level. And this level is a great example as to why these levels should stay linear. Now, my reaction to this level started at, holy shit, this level looks amazing for the build engine, and eventually devolved into, where the f do I go? This level does not feel like they made anything for any sort of flow in combat. It just feels like they wanted to make a big city in the build engine and then said, here's a level. This is supposed to be Dubai, by the way. Having a big city level is a good idea, and I do welcome it. However, it's executed really poorly. There are no directions, there's no nav point, there is no map. You are going to wander around not knowing what you need to do. You remember those levels in Doom where you got lost trying to find the key card? Now do that in Dubai. Yeah, there's 3 key cards you have to find in this level. Good luck finding 3 key cards in an entire city. To make things even worse, the keypad for the yellow key card is hidden. This switch opens a hidden door in a wall, and they expect you to find this. This is not a secret. That's what you actually have to do. This was like a constant argument. Wait, out of order. Hold up. How the f are stairs out of order? What is it, an escalator? Escalator just temporarily becomes stairs. How is it out of order? Okay, final conclusion time. Most of this video probably sounded very negative, but I'm actually more indifferent towards this game. And I really appreciate the fact that this is a free single-player tactical shooter. People put a lot of time into this game. There are a lot of little things that, if patched up and made better, could make for a really fun 3 to 4 hour style game that you can play for free on Steam. In fact, for most of the game, I was enjoying just talking to my chat while playing. However, the city level, this level is awful. I do not blame you at all if you decide to click on new game and skip that level entirely. This level needs some major reworks to tell players where they need to go. It's also very out of place because the rest of the game is pretty direct and linear, and then you just have this big sprawling open world city level with key cards that doesn't belong. So what's my final rating of this game? 3 out of 10. I'm not going to complain about it too much. I'm not going to say don't play it. If you have time, it is a free game, and it's just really unique. Again, a free tactical single-player shooter on the build engine is not something I thought I would see. This is one of those games where if it was released on Steam for $10 to $20, reviews would end up being mixed. But I'm an asshole, I guess, because I'm sitting here nitpicking about a game you can play for free on Steam that people put a lot of time into, so take that as you will. That about sums everything up. I want to give a huge thanks to everyone that joined me on Twitch. I had a lot of fun just hanging out and talking for a good hour after I beat the game. If you subscribe to my Twitch, you're able to see my videos at least 1 week at a time, usually more. And of course, I want to give a big thanks to everyone that watched this video and subscribed to this channel. I literally could not do this without you guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.